Hi, everyone. My name is Louisa Owen Sandstrom. In 2019, I started Patternmaking in Public Places, a project seeking to democratize access to pattern-making skills by removing barriers of geography, economics, age, language, intimidation, and more. Last year, we did free public pattern-making demonstrations in parks in all 5 boroughs of New York City. And this year, we're excited to welcome in a series of amazing guest pattern makers. So today I'm excited to introduce to you Victoria Cleveland, who will be leading a demonstration called the Thrift Update. Victoria is the head designer and creator of Cleveland Designs Tailoring. She's a small town girl from Livingston, Louisiana, who grew up with a love for fashion and all things creative. After graduating from Louisiana State University with a bachelor's in apparel design, she set her sights on achieving her dream of becoming a working designer in NYC. Victoria previously worked on the design team at Men's Wearhouse and is now an eyewear designer for Tura Inc. While Victoria has had many great opportunities as an emerging designer in New York, her most valued opportunity was presenting a runway collection with the Brooklyn Fashion Academy, along with other accomplished designers. Victoria is currently working on several projects to further establish herself as a designer and is excited for the future. So a couple quick notes before we get started. This event is absolutely 100% free because we want to make these empowering skills as accessible as possible. However, if you're watching now or in the future and feel moved to make a donation in recognition of Victoria's work, we won't say no. Her Venmo is at Victoria-Cleveland-1, which I've posted in the live chat to both Zoom and YouTube. And we're recording this as a live webinar, but we will make the video available forever afterward. So you'll be able to find it on patternmakinginpublicplaces.com and on YouTube. And if you're watching this live, please feel free to submit questions or comments in Zoom's chat or Q&A areas, and I'll pass them to Victoria. I'll also be monitoring the YouTube live stream chat, so feel free to submit there as well. Victoria, I'm so excited you're here. Welcome, and I will pass things over to you right now. So.
All right, thank you so much for joining. Hello to my family, friends, and also newcomers that want to get to know me and get to know this wonderful work of pattern making. So we'll just get started from here. So basically, I went to Louisiana State University, graduated in fashion design, and this is my pattern making Bible. I kept it from when I was studying pattern making, and I still reference it today. So today's pattern making demonstration will be about pleated pants. So it's quite an easy demonstration and pattern making skill. So, but if you don't know anything about it, it's kind of hard to know where to start. So let me just readjust things so I can give you a good view of my work. Just stand by for a bit. Stop readjusting. All right. You can just get together. Okay, I think we're in a good spot. Okay. So first, what I have here is a pattern block. This is based on size 6 measurements, which technically is not like your retail size 6. It's more of my size, which is basically a size 2, and it's going to be a 25 to 26.5 inch waist, or, you know, it kind of varies depending on the fit devices that you have at the time. So what we're gonna do is your pleats are usually in the front of the pant. So we're starting off with our front pant firing block, and basically we just trace it. If you don't have a pattern block already drafted, what you can do is find a pair of pants in your closet, or go to the store like Joann's or something, and you can buy a pattern that's already drafted, or you can also like find a pair of pants that fits you well in your closet and take it apart. So this can't be your favorite pair of pants, but they can fit well. And you can take it apart and be able to have your own pattern block ready to start with. So basically I traced around it. And when you move, we have our foundation to start our pleats. So we're going to start from up here. This is where we have our darts. And so you want to get your ruler, line it up very nicely, and go all the way down. And also I have here some guidelines. I'm going to do everything in pencil and then go back and trace over in Sharpie so you can see my lines. So starting from here at the end of our dart, we're going to go straight down. Looks a little crooked. Sometimes that happens. We want to make sure it's straight though. Do not want any crazy lines. So let's go back up here. The reason you want everything balanced. So we're just gonna redraw this so it looks. Let's try to get it straighter because I don't want it to be unbalanced. So go back. It's okay if you have to redraw. I mean, that's why we work in pencil, because we make mistakes. And I mean, I've been doing this for I don't know how long, and things don't always end up straight the first time. So that's okay. You just remember what your correct mark was, or erase, and start from there. Then we're gonna do the same thing here. So since we didn't like this line, we're gonna swivel through it. So we know that that is not what we want. That was unbalanced and crazy. So now we're gonna start here. And hopefully we'll get this one right the first time. Okay. Going straight down from this dart here. All the way to and there we go. So now I'm going to take the Sharpie, so we got to see what's going on here. Go back over. Also, I recommend getting these dressmaking rulers. I feel like they should use these types of rulers in all situations, like even with kids learning how to use a ruler for the first time, because it has the ruler marked all the way down to the 16th, and I feel like it even helps to learn your fractions, you know, early on. So parents, if you want to get this ruler, great. So now what I'm going to do is take my scissors and get things cut out. So I'm going to cut around my foundation.
So Victoria, you set up the lines that you drew square to your guidelines? Are they sort of a 90-degree angle, or?
Yes, it's square, it's 90-degree angle, because we want to keep everything straight.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so here we are, we have our front pant. And so our darts that are here, so our darts that are here, that we drew our lines from, are now going to be cut out. And this method is called like the slash and spread method. So what we're gonna do is slash through with our fun scissors over here, over our darts that were once there, but we're gonna make them pleats. And the reason why we cut this out is to add excess fabric into the pattern in order for us to be able to have a pleat. Because pleats are nothing but excess fabric that's like folded over. So you have to create the pattern so you have extra fabric in there in order to make the fold. This is basically all pleated. It was folded over fabric, pressed really nice. So we're gonna cut all the way down our dark lines that we had, our from our dark line. We're gonna cut all the way down. Keep cutting. So we're splashing right now. Slash, don't cut to but not through the end, because if you do that, if you cut through it, then you have to go in with your tape. Always have your tape on hand in case you cut through something, then you're gonna have to tape it back together in order to create your nice pattern. It's okay if you cut through it, but you know, try not to. So do the same thing again. All the way down. There we go. All right, two, not through. And so now we need to get another sheet of paper. Oh, now we're gonna leave it. Be gentle with it because you don't want to tear it. So now you want to lay your little piece here. And what you want to do is take your ruler, line your fabric up, everything nice and flat. Okay. So what you want to do now is measure how wide you want your pleats to be. Usually pleats are 1.5 to 2 inches wide. So you're gonna line up here. You're gonna take your ruler, match it up to the edge of where your dart started at the top and make a mark. I'll also mark over here so you know where you're at. And then here, this other side of your dart, you want to move it over the inch to 2 inches because this is where your dart's going to be. So I'm going to do mine at 1.5 inches. Put it to the 1.5 inch mark. I'm going to rule at the mark there. Try to keep this like in line. It's kind of like, I don't know of a better way to do it because you can move things around and like mess up your alignment, but just try to be careful. I'm just careful. I can't really give another way to say how to keep your spot. So then you're gonna line it here, again from the other dart leg, mark, make sure you're in line with the 1.5 inch mark here, again. And so you wanna keep it there, because now you're gonna trace the whole thing again. So just bear with me as I go through retracing. So you're not gonna go through the lines that we drew because that doesn't matter anymore. You just wanna make sure you have your marks of where your pleats are. Make sure you have that very clear. Okay. And start tracing. So if you have any questions right now, you can feel free to throw some things out here. I don't know if you want to know more about me, that's cool too. I'm just going to be retracing everything.
So Victoria, you cut all the way down to the hem, but not through it. Do you want to talk about why?
I didn't cut through it because you want to keep you don't want to lose the shape of the width of your hem. So if you cut through it, you run into the chance of it being spread out too much of the hem. Like you want to create space at the top. You want to have more fabric at the top of the pattern, but not at the bottom. You want to keep everything at the bottom the way it was, pretty much. You're not really adding much down here. It's just at the top where the pleats are going to be is where you want to cut through to add space. So keep going, tracing away.
So you're going to be using this pattern that you're making today to sew a pair of pleated pants from a pre-existing garment, right?
Yes. So I'm making a pleated pant for the fabric is coming from a maxi dress. This is the bottom of a maxi dress. So yeah, it's a revamp, something old.
Very, very cool. So I'm guessing that based on like the size of a pre-existing garment, how much fabric is in it, you might.
Right. I chose the smaller pattern draft because I wanted to make sure that I have enough fabric, so I just went with the smaller size. But depending on what size your dress is and all of that, then you can use different sizes. You gotta make sure you have enough fabric. So here we are, I traced it. And now you see that we have taken the top of the pants and increased the amount of space in the top. So we increased the waist in here, but we're gonna have our pleats here. So now I'm gonna take the line with the top, 90-degree angle, and mark down. And just clearly mark where your pleats are going to be. And now your pleats don't necessarily have to be this length. I'm just doing it to be clear to myself is what we have. So I'm gonna go back.
So we actually have a question for you from Siobhan, who asks, can you give us a little background on how you learned to sew? Where did you learn to do all this?
Okay, thanks, sister. So the background on that is my grandmother was the community seamstress, and I grew up, seeing her sew and all of that. And I got to a point when I was 17, I was trying to figure out what I actually was passionate about to go to school for. And I wanted to be an artist, and that just, I guess it wasn't really like realistic at the time. I wanted, my mom was like, you have to find something that'll pay the bills. Not saying that art can't pay the bills, but, I just needed something. So I decided to take a moment with my grandmother, take a weekend with my grandmother and sew. And here we are. I decided that weekend that fashion design was going to be my career choice. And I graduated from LSU with fashion design. I wouldn't have been able to complete that degree without my sister because we did, I had to do an internship here in New York, and at the time I didn't live here, and I just needed to be here for a few months, and my sister lived in New Jersey, so she helped me with that commute every morning so I could complete my last and final class, and so I appreciate that. I appreciate my grandmother and all my family to, help me actualize this dream that I had. So that's the story.
That's an amazing story.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I marked the top here where pleats are going to be. So you want to mark the middle. So mathing is kind of hard. Here, can I borrow your phone real quick? So, yeah, so we'll have it over in the background. But mathing is kind of hard sometimes, especially when you're like on the spot. So get your calculator out, and we have a pleat that is 1.5 inches in width. So we're gonna do 1.5 divided by 2. All right, 7.5, that's 3/4. So now we're gonna make sure that we mark 3/4 to get the middle of our pleat. So let's go here. So we're gonna line it up. Okay. And so what you want to do, since this is our middle point, let's mark that here. there. And then basically, I like to put little arrows for myself. This is which direction the pleat is gonna go. So this will be our fabric. So if we have fabric, you would take it, pinch it, flip it over. There's your pleat, literally, right there, magical, on the paper. Yeah, so I like being able to manipulate my paper and everything. And it's like, oh, you could sew a garment out of paper if you want it. Not really, but you know, yeah. So I like to put the direction of the pleat going away from center front. This right here is our center front line. And that's where our zipper would go for, like, say we wanted a fly zipper. Not fly like swag or like super cool, but like, you know, to open your pants up. Yeah, to get into, this is center front. So we're gonna mark that CF. How fun. Yeah, so then here, that's the direction your pleat is going. Again, that's the pleat right there on the paper. Simple. There we go. So that, I just like to line everything nice. And then you have the rest of your pant down here. That is that. So you want to get your grain line. You want to put your grain line on here to know when you lay it out for to cut out your fabric. You want to make sure it's straight and on grain when you lay it out, because you don't want to have a crooked garment. So how I know there's been times when I bought stuff from like Forever 21, and the seam, after you wash it or something, the seam of the garment will start like creeping to the front. That's because when they cut out that pattern, it was not on grain. So the fabric is shifted, and you really can't do anything about it at that point, but just either deal with it or throw it away. Because it ain't right. So now we're gonna do our seam allowance.
And Victoria, how did you find the grain line?
What I do is line up on the hem of the garment, 90-degree angle. That's all it is. Go down to the hem, make sure your ruler is straight, and 90-degree angle, and just do straight down. That's it. Simple. All right, so now we're going to do our seam allowance. So what this is when you get ready to cut out your fabric, you don't want to cut it directly on the line, because on the sewing line, because you won't have anything to sew to when you put your fabric together. So you want to have space to have a seam, to create the seam. And I mark it just so. I have another cool ruler here. This is called a hip curve. You know, I don't know whose hip is this straight, but you know, we have what we have. So we make it work. So I do this, I try to curve it out, make sure it's all straight, you know, get in there and make seam allowance. And I use 1/2-inch seam allowance. Some people, like commercial patterns that you buy from Joann's, they're usually 5/8 seam allowance. It's just good to know, you know, what you're working with, because if you sew, if I say you sew the seam allowance 5/8 on here, you'll end up making the pant smaller than what it was intended.
How do you decide how much to add? Did you like 1/2 inch?
I just like 1/2 inch. It just depends on you. Sometimes I like to do an inch seam allowance here where the zipper goes, just so I have enough space to play around with the zipper. For the hem, I do an inch usually. So you just have to know what you like working with, and depending on what the pattern is for. Yeah, but I say a general, half-inch seam allowance is a good place to be. And then for hems, an inch is good to work with.
So we have another question.
Yeah.
So Siobhan asks, on behalf of Janet, we saw a white woman's pantsuit on your social media last year.
Yeah.
Now do women's clothes? How long did it take to sew? Will you be featuring plus size clothes?
Well, yes. Okay, so thank you, Janet. So you wanted to know how long it took, correct?
Yeah.
It was a process. So that was a custom design for Janet, and it actually pushed me because I had never really made plus size clothing before. But basically I measured her, so that was one day, went over, measured her, that took a couple minutes. Then pattern drafting, I would say that took a couple of hours to do the pattern drafting. And then from there, I would say it took me about an hour, maybe, because I did it over a span of a couple of weeks. I tend to spread things out. So it took me a couple of weeks to actually get it done. But if I sat there on my machine and didn't move for a while, I would say it would probably take me to spend 3 to 4 days to actually get a custom garment done like that with a blazer, and it was a pair of shorts. It was lined. So yeah, it's not a microwave process. You have to be patient with yourself because things come up. I've had situations where I was sewing and I cut a hole in things, and that's a disaster. At that point, it's you just gotta start over. But yeah, you just have to kind of be patient with yourself and take your time and get it done. Also, to answer your other question, eventually I will start offering clothing on my website. I will have an online boutique, and I will feature women's Missy, women's plus, men's, and unisex. So that's the goal for next year. And I want to make it accessible to everyone. I don't want to leave anybody out. Eventually, I might go into kids. So I'm just leaving my options open, but I definitely want to be able to make things for everyone to look nice, feel nice. So yeah. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we have our front pant drafted. And I mean, it just looks so divine, it's great. So this is the center front, this is the side seam. And we got our grain line, we got our beautiful pleats. We know which direction our pleat is going. Also, so for your fly, because you want to be able to get into your pant. One thing you could do is do a side zipper, and you don't have to create a fly for that. You can just, mark how far down you want to go. So usually I go with 7 or 8 inches, because you want to get past the hip when you have the opening for the zipper. So say you want to do zipper here, you want to measure from the top. Measure down. You want to go a little. I just pick a spot. I know I'm past the hip, past the curve. You want to get it open. So right here. Sometimes you just got to look and mark it. It's not even about what's measured. everything. But when you actually like sew the garment and you want to get the correct size zipper, then you need to perfectly measure. So this is where your zipper would stop if you had a side zipper. And then this over here, so for zipper flies, on women, you want to have a zipper that's about, I'd say 7 inches. For men, it's a little longer. Mark here. And basically all the size a fly zipper is a rectangle with a curve. So we said we wanted it to be 7 inches. I'm gonna go down, mark 7, and then just I go with a 1/2 inch wide. So go down, mark 7. Okay. All right. And then you have your rectangle here. But your fly has a curve. So here's my other little fancy. Yeah, that's my little fancy one. So this is a French curve. It does smaller curves and it's cute, I guess. Yeah. And I line it up here and I make this curve for the fly. And I kind of flesh it out. I don't know. It's up to you how you want it to look, kind of. I mean, I like mine to be kind of rounded here.
So you're drafting a separate pattern piece right now.
Yeah, this is a separate pattern piece for your zipper. So, let me move this down so you can see. Yeah, so we're going to be on. So this is what I've done so far. So you mark this. And that's basically all it is, and then you just add your seam allowance around it.
And you said you made it 1.5 inches wide, or?
It's 1.5 inches wide.
And we have another question. How hard is it to do men's versus women's clothing?
It's not that much different. With women's though, we have more curves. We have hips, we have butt, we have boobs, so, and then our waist is usually like more cinched in, and we have, some people have more of an hourglass shape and things. So with women's clothing, you have to take that into account when pattern making. But with men, they are like kind of boxy, so you don't have to worry about so many fitting devices. Like women's clothes, you have to have darts in order for the fabric to lay cleanly over our curves and hug nicely and show off our figure. For men, they don't really have that to worry about so much, so it's just kind of more straightforward. And then especially with custom clothing with women, you really have to take that into account for the client because they want to look their best. They want to, have their waist accentuated. Usually when I ask my clients, I ask them, what's your favorite part of your body, like for your design or your garment that I'm making, what do you want to accentuate with this with our project? And So yeah, I just try to base it around that. So this will fly. Yeah. Also, if you want to do pockets, I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we've got a little less than 20 minutes, so definitely whatever.
Okay, yeah, the pocket is not gonna take long. So let's see if I can get some paper here. Here we go. All right. So pockets go in the hip area, nicely where we like to relax and put our hand. So basically what I always lay my paper on top just so I can trace it. And you want your pocket, say you want an inseam pocket, it's easy. You just come here, trace over what you did. So you usually want the opening for the pocket to be like 6 or 7 inches wide, like the opening. So just go down. I know our zipper was not too far from that. So if you do decide to do a side zipper, you cannot do the inseam like hidden pocket because you'll run into an issue with trying to sew the zipper into the side seam, and that's where your pocket is. And you can't have both of them there. So you would definitely, like, if you want to do a hidden inseam pocket, you want to have to do your center front zipper with the zipper fly and all that. If not, then you can do it's like a patch pocket. You could do that. You could do a patch pocket on the front and have your side zipper. There's just endless possibilities when you get to this. So I'm gonna do a quick inseam pocket since I'm going to choose to do this. So from here. I kind of gauge the size of my pocket, like can I fit my hand in here? My hand is like a tiny hand. So usually I like do even bigger than what my hand is because my hand is just not a realistic size. It's just very small, like the rest of me. So yeah. Top of the sleeve.
Another question for you. Is there a favorite material you like to work with? Conversely, what is your least favorite material to work with?
Well, my least is sequence fabric. I would say that. I've had my bout with it during this quarantine, and we are friends. Because simply because like putting it under the machine, it's hard on your machine. So it's not fun to work with sequins. My favorite to work with is silk de that's like raw silk. I feel like it's a heavier silk and everything. Like it's just fun. I mean, it holds pressing well. It's usually like really luxurious looking. but it's very expensive. Super gilding. Anytime I've seen it, it's a crazy amount of money per yard to get. So yeah, those are my favorite. We're gonna add our seam allowance around here.
And we have another important question. Do you find that the fashion industry is more white male dominated? If so, what are the challenges you face being a Black woman starting out and trying to make a name for yourself in the fashion industry?
Okay, so I do feel that it is more like white male dominated, also white women. I feel that it is geared more towards them because I mean it was hard for us in the past to even work in these spaces. So I guess my experience, I feel like I've had to prove myself more in the office, and just having to, show my expertise, my talents, and really prove myself. And then as far as like an emerging designer trying to get a business up and running, it's difficult because we don't have the networking spaces readily available to us. They have, well, I would say white people have access. They have access to factories. They have knowledge on what to do, what not to do. They have connections in all areas. And as Black people, we do not have, someone at the factory that owns a factory that is willing to give us that opportunity, or someone who is working at the department store is willing to give us a chance to have our clothes on the floor of the department store. So I feel that it is important that we push to have our counterparts there. I know I have friends right now that are working to get in several different spaces in the fashion industry. So I could be an emerging designer, that they pull up. And it's all about having your personal ecosystem and community to help each other, like we pull each other up through this journey. So it's important for us to make ourselves available in these spaces, in fashion. So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. And yeah, I'm looking to break boundaries, break barriers, and move forward. So here we have our pocket. I'm running out of paper, so the seam allowance would continue here. I'm just running out of space. But yeah, so would then have your pocket here. When you get ready to sew, you would place the pocket like. Well, this isn't really a sewing demonstration. So that would have to be a whole other thing. But yeah, this is generally, what your inseam pocket would be. And I just like to go in and clearly mark what everything is, because you can have a bunch of little block boxes and things that you cut out and you don't even know like what it matches to or what it is, or so I always try to be very clear, and I even put the date a lot of times, because with pattern drafting, you want to know what's your most current pattern. So I always date it, so I know when I've made any changes, like what was the original, and then when I revised it, and then what's the final, that kind of thing. So you have to be really clear and organized with yourself in the pattern making world. So yeah, also you would want a waistband for this, to finish off the top of your pants. Basically a waistband is finishing the top. I mean, it's a rectangle that is the length of your waist, like the circumference of your waist. So You can make a straight waistband. For pleated pants, I think straight waistbands are the way to go. You can make a contoured waistband, but I don't think that really fits for this type of draft here. But yeah, so you could just make a rectangle that is whatever your waist circumference is. And so here, we could say that the circumference of the waist is gonna be 24. This is just for demonstration. Let's say 24. You want to have a little more, so 13. We'll have a little. Well, our fly is an inch and a half wide, so you have to allot space for your fly. So you're saying that our waist is 24, tiny model waist, and then you're gonna add an inch and a half, so that's 13 and a half. And we're gonna mark down from there and do waistband. I'm gonna do an inch width waistband, so you wanna double that. So that's gonna be 2 inches wide. The reason why you wanna double that is so you can fold your waistband over to the inside to finish things. So we're just gonna do that. And one. Okay. And then you want to mark where your fold line is. So dash here. And you want to mark where your fly extension would be, where your center front is. So this is center front. Right side where it is not fine. Okay. And then this is the extension. Okay. So it's simple. It's a box, rectangle out. Also, I find pattern making to be fun because I find myself watching TV and I can look at things and like look at garments on TV and say, okay, how did they pattern make that? How did they break that down? And basically it's like working backwards in your mind. It's like a puzzle and you just work backwards on how to create the garment. And sometimes I pattern make in my mind and I feel like that's crazy, but it's what I love to do.
I love that. That's so fun.
Yeah, and you would also want to put your seam allowance around this as well. You need seam allowance around everything, except when you get right here. So remember we did it 13 and a half. Well, that's half of our waist. So we want to put cut on the fold. So I usually do these little 3 dots. In the pattern making world, that's what that means. The 3 dots means cut on fold. I don't know who decided that. I don't know how it correlates at all, but that's what I learned in school. And so you don't want to put seam allowance there. You just want to mark straight down and then come here on the bottom, put your seam allowance. Coming out to the side here, got an extension, put your seam allowance there. And the other.
So we've got a few great questions. If this is an okay time for you to take them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so one question: how long does the process usually take to make something? Are time restrictions requested from customers? Do they make it harder?
I usually, for simpler things, simpler designs, I try to say it's gonna take at least a day. If I'm creating it from scratch, like I have to measure the person, I have to, and then I think it has to take at least 24 hours. So, from start to finish, drafting the pattern and actually like sewing the garment. If it's simple. When it comes down to like blazers and dresses, like I did a dress for one of my clients. She was making her Broadway debut, so definitely red carpet, super fun red carpet look. That took time. There were 3 pieces to the look. It was a bustier top with a fitted skirt, and then over that outfit there was a dress that was draped and pleated. So all of that was like a month-long process. So it just varies. And then I personally, I have to look at my schedule. At the time when I did that, I was working full time. So it would be, I'm going to work and then at home, take maybe an hour and a half to decompress from work and then get back to work and work on custom garments or whatever project I plan to do. So I have to keep that in mind right now, since we're on Coronication, like that process. I mean, I've just been able to have time to do whatever. So I've been working on projects, like doing alterations and things for people, and alterations don't take long. Sometimes they take an hour. You just kind of have to plan things out in your mind and know your pace and schedule, and know that you can't physically be a sewing machine at all hours. You do have to have a life outside of pattern making and sewing. So I just try to keep that in mind when I accept projects and think of time. I also take into account if the person has a specific due date. I like to work around due dates so I can keep my pace. But it's about knowing yourself and knowing how much you can and cannot do, and how much you put on your plate.
Great. A couple more questions. And actually, by the way, I would encourage everybody to check out Victoria's Instagram and website, and you can see some of the projects that have been mentioned. They're amazing and beautiful, and you should definitely check them out. But another couple of questions. What advice would you give any young girls looking up to you on how to just get started in the fashion industry? And I sort of append to that question, people looking to get started in pattern making too. That might be a 2-part question.
Yeah, okay, so for the young girl looking to start in the fashion industry, the fashion industry is so vast. I would definitely tell her to try to do some research and figure out which part of the industry she's interested in, because being a designer and doing what I'm doing right now, it takes a lot of determination and effort and brain power. So I'm not saying that like this portion of the fashion industry is not for everybody. There's styling, there's merchandising, there's buying. So I would tell her to definitely like figure out which part of the industry she's interested in and research that. If you're interested in designing and sewing and pattern making, as I was, I would advise them to go to Joann's, and they offer sewing classes, like early beginner sewing classes. They also offer easy patterns that you can start making at home. Definitely get a sewing machine. Don't be afraid of the machine. Get on the machine and just start off, just go. I always tell people, do not be afraid of the machine. You control the sewing machine. It does not control you, even though it will drive you crazy someday. But I encourage people to just find which section of the industry is really, that they're really passionate about, and go with it. And you can, your family may say, sewing and fashion is a hobby. No, anything that is a hobby, you can make work for you. You can, make a living from that. You can be an entrepreneur in that industry. You just have to do the right steps and take the right steps to do that. And go to school, get a degree in it. I mean, you can do this without a degree, but I'm so thankful that I went to Louisiana State University and got the training that I did, because I wouldn't have been able to do this. And I feel like it's good to have a strong educational background and have the skills to be successful. Also, I think we come pretty much to a stopping point on like the actual pattern making process. So, but the back of the pan, I didn't get to that. But the back of the pan is basically.
Oh, I think we lost your video for a moment.
Oh. Okay. Are we back? All right. Okay. Are we back? You got it?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, good. So the back is basically just tracing the back. You don't have to do anything to the back. You just take it as it is, leave your darts in there, and add your seam allowance around your block, and you're good. You don't have to do anything else to it. So, but I will, what I will do is like readjust things so we can like see me while I'm answering these questions. Yeah. Okay, there I am. All right, what is this name?
I love what you said about your advice to girls who might be looking to you. I think that's all super inspiring for everybody. And you said another possibly similar question, were your parents supportive of your dream of being a fashion designer, or did they want you to become a doctor or something?
So yeah, my family is very supportive in everything that I do. When I brought this to them that, I wanted to go to school for fashion design, it was kind of, I wouldn't say they were completely unsupportive. I think they were just a little, worried that I may not be able to make money to sustain myself. So, they asked me questions like, where do you plan to go to school? How can this make money for you? Just parent questions that I feel are valid. At the time, I was 17 and I was like, of course, I can't believe you would doubt me. But in all, like now that I'm now 26, I do understand, like they didn't want me to go to school and have student loans and not be able to pay my student loans back and be able to feed myself and, be a productive adult in society and have a degree that I can't get any work in. So I definitely, thank God, I was able to get my degree. I've always been able to find work. But I did get, my mom wanted me to go into like pharmacy, and my mom also often said, you're good at speaking, and what about broadcast journalism? And they sounded fun. The broadcast journalism, I'm not gonna lie, it sounded fun, but I knew that my passion lies in something creative, creating, making people feel good, making people look good. So yeah, I say if you're interested in something, just follow your heart, because you don't want to waste all that time and all that money in college on something that you do not like. If you really are passionate about something, you will make it work for you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Inspiring. So I'm gonna encourage people, if you have any more questions, to get them down. I have another question for you. What do you see as the relationship between being a designer and being a pattern maker? Can you be a designer without doing pattern making? Can you be a pattern maker without understanding design? how do you see yourself?
I feel like both pattern making and sewing, designing, I think all of those things make a well-rounded designer. I've met people that, have the ideas for great products, great garments, but have never sewn or made patterns in their lives. And it's almost like a disconnect at times. Like you can come up with this great idea in your mind and even sketch it out on paper, but pattern making and sewing add that technical construction piece that allows you to understand, okay, with this design that I've conjured in my mind, how I can actually make it come to fruition. Does this make sense? Does my sketch have seams in the correct places to be able to have a technical design? Because everything has to be functional. You can't just have random things happening. I mean, you can draw whatever you want, you can make up whatever you want in your mind, but when it comes to the hard facts at the sewing machine or at the pattern making table, that's when you find out when you have a good design. So I think all are very important.
Okay. Anything that you want to say? It looks like there are no other questions. Any final thoughts you want to share?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone. I mean, my parents, my friends, my sister. Hey, sister. Tiara, you can't see her, but she's in the background for allowing me to use her space for today. Everybody who supported me up to this point, I'm very, very thankful. I'm glad you joined to watch, and maybe I can make this a thing, because I actually did enjoy it. I never saw myself to be a pattern maker, teacher type, but apparently it flowed easy. I feel good about it, and I'm very thankful. I'm thankful for you, Louisa. You have been very helpful, and thank you for offering this opportunity to me.
Well, we're incredibly grateful. I'm sure I speak for everybody watching that you're doing this, and I really hope you keep doing it. This was amazing and inspiring and wonderful. Okay, so I'm gonna just wrap things up now, and want to give a few closing mentions. So if you have any further questions, Victoria has very kindly invited everybody to email her with those questions at victoria@vclevelanddesigns.com. Again, friendly reminder, if you do feel moved to donate in gratitude for the work that she's done, the amazing work she's done, you can Venmo her at Victoria-Cleveland-1, the numeral 1. No pressure though, this is free and we're so glad you're all here. Thank you, Victoria, for your wonderful pattern making demonstration. It was amazing and helpful and inspiring. Thank you everyone for watching. And quick reminder that we have a bunch of other pattern making demonstrations coming up this summer, including 2 next weekend, one on altering a t-shirt for a better fit, and another one geared toward children who are aspiring pattern makers. For more info on those events and other ones, you can follow at Patternmaking in Public Places on Instagram. Definitely also follow Victoria. And the recording of today's video will be up soon on the patternmakinginpublicplaces.com website and on YouTube. So thank you everyone, and have a